Hi, this is Mike and welcome to my vlog about all things Burnley FC. I wasn't actually going to do a video after Friday's game against West Brom, but it was such a good performance I haven't managed to get it out of my head so far. So I thought I'd just put a few things down on camera. West Brom came to the turf on Friday night on an incredible run of form. 9 wins out of their last 11 under new boss Carlos Corberán, who replaced Steve Bruce. Who thought that guy was ever going to be a problem? They come here, they are flying, they are winning most games, they are playing some really nice football, and Burnley took one look at all that and decided simply they don't give a damn. We even gave them 20 minutes and a goal head start before turning in what Vincent Kompany called a fantastic and brilliant performance, and it's very, very difficult to disagree with him. I thought it was a bit of a shock at the start when we saw the lineup, JBG out injured yet again. That combined with the loss of Harwood Bellis for, let's say the rest of the season, and the suspended Jack Cork meant 3 of our most influential players were out for what was probably the toughest test at home we've had so far this season. But I think they passed with flying colours. In came Samuel Bastien, who I really, really liked in the centre of our midfield. He's a bit of a terrier. He's got bite, he's got speed, he goes into the tackle. I really, really like him. I know Cork isn't available for the next game at Norwich, but I'm not that worried because I think Bastien is a fantastic replacement. I don't think he's as good as Jack Cork, and obviously Cork is the captain, he'll be coming back in. But there's not that worry that if Cork or indeed Josh Brownhill are out, Bastien I think is a more than suitable replacement. Up front we had Ashley Barnes and Nathan Teller, nice little swap from J-Rod and Manuel Benson. So you can see the Kompany's doing the tactical flexibility, but the Clarets didn't get off to a great start. The corner comes in and Furlong puts a clear header into the back of the net. Now a lot of complaints about Charlie Taylor getting fouled as the ball came in. I think VAR probably would have cancelled that one out, but I don't care, because that's the way football goes. And I think I've seen more than once under the Dyche years where you see Ben Mee or James Tarkowski absolutely mow down an opposition player before heading it into the back of the net. We were on the receiving end this time. I did actually at the time think Muric should have come out and claimed the ball, but again on replay it was a very well placed set piece. They put it in exactly the right area. Bit of luck the referee didn't spot the shove, but that's the way it goes. And it could have been worse. It was almost 2-0. We did get away with one, I thought, as again another cross came in. Muric this time dropped it, and it was knocked in by a West Brom player. This time the ref blew it dead, said there was a foul on the keeper. Again, looking at replays, I don't think there was. I don't think VAR would have cancelled that one out. So, swings and roundabouts. But after those 2 scares at the start of the game, Clarets took control, knocking the ball about really, really well. I was thinking it was actually going to be a sort of another Coventry given the start, but Clarets came back into the game instead of giving Coventry the entire 45 minutes. And this is something I pointed out before. Kompany seems to learn from his mistakes. The team do not make the same mistake twice. And they gave Coventry the first 45 to do with as they pleased. Similar start with West Brom. West Brom score, but Burnley did not give them the rest of the half to do what they wanted. They didn't have a slow start or begin to crank it up far too late. It actually felt like after that first half that it was going to be one of those nights. Ashley Barnes hit the crossbar, there was that deflection onto the post, and there were 3 penalty shouts. Now I have to say, at the time I'm doing this, I have not seen replays of each of the penalty shouts. By all accounts, the Teller one was a bit of a dive. I think the first one was Teller, was a bit 50-50, and there was one, I believe, on Josh Brownhill, which most people seem to think was a penalty. Now this all happened at the other end of the ground, so I don't know for sure. I've got to say, I really thought the Teller one that everyone said was a dive, and I think I've seen a photo saying it was a dive. That really looked stonewall, but that's the way it goes. It really felt like this was going to be one of those nights, especially as I noticed Ian Matson was on set piece delivery from corners, I know Josh Brownhill tends to put sand wedges on at a set piece, but Maatsen, I think, achieved the very difficult task of being even worse by basically floating crosses in to be headed away at the near post on a regular basis. And I think it was kind of significant in the second half when Brownhill took a couple of corners. We actually looked more dangerous. So I'm not sure Maatsen should be on set piece duties again. But there you go, 1-0 down at half time. But I was actually quietly confident. West Brom are a very good side. They're moving things around. They're showing attacking intent. They're probably, as I say, one of the best sides to come to the turf this year. But we still looked like we had something in the tank and we were coping with them. And you can't really ask for anything more despite being 1-0 down at half time. Come out for the second half and the Clarets were just in irresistible form, I thought. Doing what they always do, which is begin to crank up the pressure. And it's kind of interesting as well in that there's a lot of cliche around how teams and fans look and talk about their teams. And they turn around and go, I watched some West Ham vlogs and they've all been very complimentary about the Clarets and the result. But a lot of them said, we were defending too deep in that second half. No, you have to give credit to the other team. The reason West Brom were defending so deep wasn't because they wanted to drop too deep. It was because they had no outlet. They had no way of getting away from the pressure that the Clarets were putting on. Although it was kind of interesting that the one time they actually played a high line was the time that Teller got the equaliser, because their defence had gone out. They'd gone out to the centre circle for a goal kick, and before they knew it, it was through the defence. Great ball from Zarori and in the back of the West Brom net. And from that point onwards, you're wondering, does Company stick or twist? Pretty obviously no. Brings on Scott Twine and switches effectively. Scott Twine for a holding midfielder, by the way, in Bastien. 1-1 against a team that's flying and could go up to third at home, and he decides, no, I'm going to switch to not effectively a 4-2-4, but what I look like is a 1-1-5-4, and that's not a mistake, because that first one is the goalie. Muric is basically playing out of the centre circle at this point. I know I criticised him for the first couple of goals, we'll call it, but that guy was passing the ball with the outside of his boot. He was giving me a heart attack, but he knew what he was doing. And it's great to see when it actually works. I mean, I'm not entirely sure I like to see him doing that in the Premier League, but, you know, it's all part of the fun as far as we're concerned. So Twine's on, Clarets putting pressure in, absolutely fantastic. Then, again, another lucky break. Actually, before I get to that, Charlie Taylor, not scored ever for Burnley, apart from in a penalty shootout, had two glorious chances, including one a good stop from Palmer. I mean, that guy, you know, when he does score, is going to be the biggest cheer and the funniest laugh. If Charlie Taylor can score against you, then, you know, you must not be able to defend at all. But he kind of felt that it was coming. You know, everyone was patient. And even though it was 87 minutes before it actually happened, everyone felt it was still going to happen. Cullen, again, a bit lucky here. Replays say that he kicked the ground. There might have been some contact, but not really enough. But replays saw he kicked the ground, but no one in the ground at the time actually thought that that was not a foul. The only question was, and I was perfectly in line, was it inside the area or not? And here's another irony, it was outside, so if VAR had been in operation, it would still have not overturned that decision, even though in hindsight it was the wrong one. So Scott Twine lines up, 3 minutes to go. We've got a player here who has struggled through injury, has struggled through bad luck. He's played, half an hour all season. He's brought in fairly cold to, you know, do exactly what he's being asked to do. And the ball is literally 18 yards and 1 inch outside the goal. The narrative has been set. The story has been written. All you need is the punchline. And I remember exactly what I said to the guy who sits next to me. I said to him, with all this bearing in mind around the narrative and the build-up, I looked at him and said, he's not getting it up and down from here. Well, Scotty Twine, you got it up and down from there. So, absolute bedlam. The players, the fans were so happy for the guy scoring, capping a great cameo. The only thing is, you know, is he going to be in the starting lineup for the next few games? But 2-1 it was at the end of the game. 2-1. and a brilliant, brilliant result. There is only so much you can say about a team that is playing so well. Normally I try to put a hook or something around this, but what can you say about a team that is absolutely brilliant in every facet of the game? They're everything you want. And even at the end, we're doing bloody rondos. I mean, I've never seen a set of players do rondos to the opposition in a professional football match. And that happened right in front of me, and I thought this is the most remarkable thing I've seen at Turf Moor in 30 years of actually watching the Clarets. This is a team and a season that you're going to be telling your grandkids about, because they are the most entertaining side in Burnley history. This is one of those memorable sides in Burnley history. It cannot get better than this. You know, we can't do this in the Premier League. It's not going to be that kind of campaign. I don't think it's going to be like a Dyche-like slog or anything like that, but you know, we might get smashed in the Premier League, but we'll always have this, and we'll always have that side of those rondos being done to a very good side. You know, don't get me wrong, West Brom, I think they're at the edge of the playoff places right now. I think they should stay in those playoff places, probably get third or fourth, and they are a good bet to get back into the Premier League, and that's fine, you know. But Clarets just made them look ordinary in the same way that they've done to so many teams already this season. So they just march on, and it's an incredible thing to see. We've got Norwich away in a couple of weeks. That'll be an interesting test, considering they've scored 8 goals under David Wagner, a manager I've always kind of liked anyway. But that'll be a good test. But they passed their test so far, and I know it sounds daft, but so what if they lose that one? I mean, come on. We've lost, 2 games all season? And one final thing, I think it would be absolutely hilarious. Not that it's going to happen, because football doesn't work this way. It doesn't give you this kind of stuff, but God, it'd be brilliant if it did. I love the prospect right now that we're on course to clinch promotion to the Premier League away at Ewood. That would be astonishing. That would be an astonishing achievement, because it's not supposed to happen. The timing and the scheduling of those games is to prevent things like that being a possibility. So if it was to happen, that would be hilarious for any number of reasons, and it's the sort of thing that we'd be able to hold over them for a very, very long time. So that is it for this week. I won't be doing any vlogs, I don't think, until probably the transfer window, quote, slams shut. We've already got a couple of players in. Looks like another one's coming. I'll put something together, I think, for that. But until then, up the Clarets.